like the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I like the girls with their nails done.
Good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live edition of the finale of the Talking Crap podcast. I'm Lucas Jackson. I'm joined, of course, by Jazzy Josh Porter for this very special live edition coming to you a bit later than advertised, but we are now live and we are willing and ready to take your comments and feedback and opinions and questions. And today we are talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the Undertaker. That's right. The Undertaker recently retired. We were going with following the excellent Last Ride series. Which aired on the WWE Network, which I would recommend people to check out, like if they can. It was a very good series. And 30-year career, what can you say, really? And we will be going through it in detail. We've got some people that are joining us, some interviews with people that have featured in the series over the last 10 weeks or so. We've got Lewis Barrett, we've got Danny Chapman, we've got Vinny Daniels, we've got Pris Hunter, and we do also have Champagne Charlie, as well as ourselves. And I mean, hopefully as well, we in fact your yeah. Yeah. Mm. Oh, such a you thing. Such a you thing. But anyone watching the live stream, like I said, the topic is going to be the Undertaker. So any questions, comments, we'd like to hear from you. Get involved really. We've got a lot to kind of say on the subject, and we've got some news bits as well to discuss as the episode kind of goes on. We are aiming for about an hour and 15 minutes. So let's say we're now on 12:50, so we should hopefully be finished by about 2 p.m. But we're willing to obviously take people in and out, coming in and out for there. But anyway, let's start some news anyway. We've got a few people already watching the stream, so let's start some news. I saw that Cody Rhodes might not be getting his name back. It might not be as easy as might not be as easy as it seemed potentially. Yeah, yeah. So it seems like, the thing is, wasn't it when he was on the Independence? He was obviously using his wife's name is legally Brandy Rhodes, which obviously WWE haven't copyrighted Brandy Rhodes, have they? Not yet, because obviously in WWE she was Eden Styles, So the ring announcers for some reason get fancy wrestler names for some reason. She was Eden Styles. And so they didn't copyright Brandy Rose. So he was getting away with it, but with her being his manager or valet, and the duo being known as Cody and Brandy Rose. So obviously the assumption would be that people know that he is Cody Rhodes and that his wife is obviously Brandy Rhodes. Yeah, and I think everyone kind of knows him as Cody Rhodes. I don't think there's anyone out there who goes, I don't think of him as Cody Rhodes. I think a lot of people. But I mean, yeah, it seems that WWE aren't willing to get rid of some of it, and then some of the other trademarks as well. He's always managed to get some of the old WCW trademarks off with WWE, which I think it does seem it's a bit at this point. It's just a bit retaliatory, from the E. And obviously there is obviously some bad blood there between the two parties, it seems. But hopefully they can sort it because his name is Cody Rhodes. I don't think anyone out there is questioning his name not being Cody Rhodes. And they have Dustin. Yeah, I don't think anyone's out there going, this man is not Cody Rhodes. He's called Cody Rhodes. But yeah. Piece of news.
I was given a text saying that no one can hear me. So I'm now trying to fix that.
Okay.
Excuse me one moment. Shut up!
Oh. Always bound to have domestics in these things, it seems.
Yeah, right. Anyway, hopefully people should be able to hear me.
They can hear you. I mean, yeah. Yeah, because I've got the stream on, so I can see obviously what's happening.
Yeah, I've got it as well, but apparently they couldn't hear me. And this is really weird now because I've got an echo of myself. So if I trip over my words, that's why.
But look, like we said, we have got some guests lined up joining us to discuss our main topic, which is the Undertaker. And I think let's just start off by addressing the Undertaker. And obviously, we're talking about a near 30-year career now, and obviously just basically retired. Do you think it's definite that he's retired?
It's wrestling, so you can't really. No one retires in wrestling properly. They might retire from in-ring competition, but that's about it.
I mean, it's interesting because he signed. It was last ride got mentioned. He signed a 15-year contract. Vince got very upset about him potentially doing stuff like signings elsewhere, and so that he was signed to a 15-year deal. And this was just in 2019, I believe, just last year. And so he is signed and employed with the company for 15 years until 2034. And obviously, I guess you'd assume that when a 55-year-old man signs a contract that long for an active activity, basically, like wrestling is, you'd assume they're not going to do that for the full 15 years. But to kind of retire after 1 year, and now they're paying
signing a 15-year contract and going a year later, it's like, no, I'm done. It's iffy with wrestling.
It is, but I guess Vince. There is a lot of respect there, and I think obviously his image will still be being used for a long time in the company, even if he chooses not to make any more in-ring or cinematic appearances.
Definitely.
There is. I think there's definitely more of an avenue for him to have cinematic matches. I think obviously Sting. Another piece of news. I wasn't attached to this really, but in its own right. But Sting has basically said he basically put a tweet saying about it's not necessarily the end of the road. Is it the last ride? And he has kind of like hinted potentially. It's hard because obviously the internet is the internet, and the stirrers would be out there in full force from this. But he has obviously made mention of this, and obviously Sting is another one which he retired, and people still kind of think he would come back because even recently with the AEW stuff, when he was allegedly rumored to be handing over the belt. And it was that thing of Cody potentially wanting to face it. And it's right. Like, people don't seem to want to retire, but Sting's 61 years old now.
Yeah, and he's got a neck injury. So it's one of those things where the only time people really retire is if they literally cannot wrestle because of health.
Mm. Then, as we've seen with Daniel Bryan, with Edge, it just seemed very much, if you can get yourself back into a decent shape, that, people will, well, the WWE doctors were clear. I think, Bryan basically backed them into a corner, didn't he, a couple of years ago, when he said, look, let me wrestle, clear me to wrestle while you're doctors, or I'll go to Ring of Honor. I'll go to New Japan. I will face Zack Sabre Jr. I will face all the guys in the Indies and make a shitload of money, basically.
Why didn't you do that?
Another company.
I think the fans would have preferred that.
But yeah, but this is where WWE, I think they've had to learn they can't necessarily always put those breaks on.
Yeah.
Because even with people like Corey Graves, he's spoken recently about potentially wanting to do something again, in ring. Obviously, with Bryan getting cleared and with Edge getting cleared, and
there
was even
Graves.
Graves with concussions. He died because of concussions. Similar story with Christian. Yeah, well, Edge of the neck injury.
But he had. No, it was Daniel Bryan with the concussions.
Daniel Bryan with the concussion, and Christian too.
And
Christian, and so there is obviously always that thing of like, if they can get themselves into decent nick, like, could they do it? And it seems that
Christian's not that old, is he? Well, neither is Corey Graves or Daniel Bryan. Like,
well, no.
What, early 40s, late 30s, maybe?
Yeah, I think, Daniel Bryan's 38, I believe, and Corey Graves is mid-30s. But younger than that, you've got Paige, similar reasons, concussions. But it is...
On that note, the next person that says Sasha Banks did it on purpose is getting a slap from me personally.
Yeah, like that. It was not...
She didn't... You can clearly tell she wasn't trying to hurt you. It's one of those things where accidents do happen.
Yeah, sadly in this. And yeah, like she's retired because of it. So it is the case that, circling back to the Undertaker and his physical condition, I think, and the potential for a future of a cinematic style match that could happen once a year involving Undertaker, I think a lot of people would be down for that. I'd argue there's not many people for him left to face. I'm guessing it would just be a really good way to do him versus Sting, though, because obviously him versus Sting in a wrestling match doesn't work because there's too many limitations now.
Yeah, there's too many potential injuries. We saw what happened with Undertaker and Goldberg in Saudi, so we don't want a repeat of that.
But yeah, I think there is definitely some room here. I think, but I do kind of think that I've noticed that people, they like dates. And this whole, like, it being 2020 now, and him being 30 years, and it all kind of ties. It just seems quite neat. It feels like,
Yeah.
So potentially it could be the last. With that, shall we? We spoke to Champagne Charlie.
We did.
And I think let's get some other views on this. We spoke to a lot of people about this earlier in the week, and we still, like I said, if you want to send us our comments on our Facebook page or comment or whatever, we're trying to find the comments.
The YouTube chat stream is open, so feel free to drop us a message, or if you want to shout out for someone. Yeah, we're live for a reason.
Exactly. Well, we shout out to Matt Ball as he asked for it earlier.
And he has been texting me this whole time, telling me what's not working and what is. So thanks for that.
Well, a shout out to Matt Ball then. But anyway, shall we? Let's hear what we had to say when we spoke to Champagne Charlie then.
Yeah, let's head over to past us, and we'll be back shortly.
So, Champagne Charlie, what is your favourite memory or moment of the legendary man of The Undertaker?
Well, my favourite moment of The Undertaker, it's a very hard question at first because there's so many great moments that stand out. But for me, my favourite moment was actually the WrestleMania 20, the return of the whole dead man
so they can't hear us
version of The Undertaker. I just remember, Kane went in the ring and there was this whole speculation of whether he'd turn up or not. Then the classic lights go out, and then, as well as The Undertaker, Paul Bearer showing up as well, and with the druids and the torches. So that was a pretty cool moment.
Obviously, I mean, you mentioned Dr. Kane. That seems to be one of his kind of
built for feuds, I guess. The Brothers and the Brothers of Destruction stuff. Like, did you prefer them as a tag team, or did you prefer them when they were feuding, going at each other?
Well, here's the thing. I actually love the whole Brothers of Destruction thing, and I'll make this a very quick story. The Brothers of Destruction were in the first match I ever watched. The first wrestling match I ever watched. I first got in, fell in love with wrestling when I was about 8 years old, and it was my cousin who made me watch it with him. And the first match I saw was the Right to Censor versus Undertaker and Kane. And by the way, Undertaker and Kane beat the living shit out of them. So,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
So I love the Brothers of Destruction. I thought they were a great team. Some great moments there as well when they were teaming together.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about, obviously they were together for a few periods. They kept kind of on and off, didn't they? Career.
Yeah.
And obviously they feuded a couple of times. I think they had a number of high-profile matches throughout their time. Hell in a Cell, Inferno. I think they've had cage matches, probably. Yeah. I'm assuming. I'm paraphrasing.
Hate to say it, though. They were also involved. The match was horrible. So
yeah, not Taker's. Weirdly, we had an Invasion episode, obviously, very early on in the series. But I do think Taker, he wasn't there for the Invasion like he should have been, in my opinion. I think he could have been a bigger deal. But I think later on is when he truly kind of came into his own, like when he's had the series of matches, the long series of matches, we can go on the streak matches, from basically when he faced Orton onwards, Orton, Edge, Batista. It really kind of stepped up from there, I'd say.
That was when they started really noticing that there was a streak. Before that, it was just a coincidence, but then they started realizing there was a streak there.
Yeah, I believe they said the Flair match was when they realized that he was like
because it was 10. Yeah, because it was 10-0 at that point. Yeah, so.
Which is interesting. We mentioned the streak, so it's going to come up quite a lot. Do you think that the streak should have been beaten by Brock Lesnar? If not, who do you think should have beaten it, if anyone at all?
Now, this is a difficult question for me, because I, like millions of people worldwide, was shocked when the streak was broken. And I don't think it should have been Lesnar, because I'll be honest, I don't have much respect for Lesnar, because of him, only showing up when he chooses, and the whole keeping the title ransom thing. That's just me, though. As far as who should have broke it, I really do not know. I honestly do not know. I like to think it would be someone who was well deserving of it, who was actually a workhorse in the company, who's there constantly. I quite would have, I don't think it should have been Roman Reigns either. Roman Reigns didn't break the streak, but he had a win at WrestleMania. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen something like the Phenom versus the Demon kind of thing, Finn Balor or something like that. So that would have been quite interesting, I thought.
Aleister Black wouldn't have been a bad shout, if we're talking similar characters. Then I think either Aleister Black or Finn Balor, when you mentioned the Demon King, they are two top acts.
I think
just like that darkness versus darkness kind of thing. So
passing the torch that's been put out.
Exactly.
It sort of implies, though, that obviously you mentioned Finn Balor there, that obviously you do kind of think the streak, they could have lasted a little bit longer with the streak obviously intact. Because obviously he would have had, Balor only debuted in the main roster a couple of years ago. So, they would have to build him up to that moment. Yeah, and I guess there is that argument there where he could have done. My one, I think, personally, I think if he was to lose to anyone, it should have been Randy Orton. At the time, he was doing the Legend Killer gimmick.
Apparently he did want to end it there with Randy Orton, but he got vetoed. So
by Vince, I think. I'm assuming I think Vince is the one who's kind of thing. Obviously, he's just recently retired after the fantastic Last Ride series on the network. Yeah, and do you feel it is the right time?
Yeah, I think it is. If you look at some of his matches over the last few years, you can see the wear and tear on his body. I mean, if you remember one of the matches he had with Triple H at WrestleMania, where he collapsed after the match, it's things like that. The injuries are there, and even though he's in his late 50s, even though he is that is not necessarily old. There's a lot of people in wrestling who would say that is old. I mean, a lot of people are getting out of the business round about that time. I don't personally have a idea of when you should retire in wrestling. I mean, that's just me. But if you can feel the pain and the injuries catching up, then it's your time, really. So
it's one of those things as well. Like Undertaker, he wasn't old, but he'd only wrestled in WWE, and obviously they're weekly shows, so he's up and down the road all year round. Obviously, wear and tear is going to affect him quicker than most people, and he doesn't really do massive spots as much as some of the other flippy dippy dipshits do. But
I think he stopped doing all those high things when he landed on his head at WrestleMania 25.
And
when he
cameraman,
exactly. Well, almost.
I think he did a dive in his match against Triple H, the first one. He did a dive. I remember that was the show where remember Cole had that fucking coal mine thing outside, and he almost hit it and doing the dive. I think that's the last time he did the dive. But yeah, I think. Final question to you, Josh, is: do you think he'll go into the Hall of Fame next year?
I think he should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. If it should be next year, but sometimes they have a habit of delaying things, don't they? So if not next year, then definitely within the next couple of years.
Yeah. I won't be happy if he isn't like the headline of that Hall of Fame ceremony, because
he needs to be. He needs to be. The man was the leader of the locker room.
Hall of Fame ceremony if they wanted.
Yeah, the man was the leader of the locker room for God knows how many years.
Yeah, so many people have spoken, just truly amazing things about him, about being on the road with him and kind of being around him. And he is someone which I think everyone who has ever liked wrestling, even just like on the outskirts, from the Attitude Era, from the Ruthless Aggression Era to the PG, Reality Era, whatever it is, everyone kind of knows The Undertaker. And, it is kind of the last of a great kind of going, it seems.
People often talk about the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, right? But to me, it's more than that. I mean, if you look at, I would compare some of those legends to the Greek gods of Mount Olympus. There were over 12 of them, right? And Undertaker would be on that Mount Olympus, I think, when it comes to the wrestling greats.
He is one of the gods of professional wrestling. There are certain people that if it were not for them, wrestling would have probably been close to ending by now.
Exactly. So,
well, I think with that note, that's a nice kind of thing, having the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. And I think, thank you for joining us, Champagne Charlie, and
thank you.
Back to us live.
We are where we are now. It doesn't matter because they can't hear us. I forgot to put it back on. Okay, there we go. That's better. They should be able to hear us now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry that some sound issues. We should be back now. And just like I said, Champagne Charlie, they touched upon the streak. The streak that obviously went on for a numerous amount of years. It's never going to be replicated, let's be honest. And, what was your favourite streak match, prior to Lesnar ending it?
Favourite streak match? That could be confused with any Divas match. It's a choice of words. A choice of... Never mind, you know what I was saying. It's an innuendo. My favourite streak match will probably have to be... one with Randy Orton.
Yeah, like, I think a lot of people kind of thought that Orton would, be the one to end the streak, especially as he... It's weird that we're talking about this again now in 2020, because in 2005, I believe, when he faced Undertaker, WrestleMania 21, he was the Legend Killer. And now we are back in a situation in 2020 where Randy Orton is now being managed by Ric Flair to be the Legend Killer again. And, and he's going down the, his Edge, Christian, potentially Big Show coming up very soon. But it did feel very much like it was gearing towards that. And it was I think his better matches, though, obviously, we're going to touch on it in a lot of detail over the episode. But before he had, obviously, with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, back to back. And then even his match with Punk, which I guess in WWE law is, somewhat kind of eradicated because they've gone sour on him. But it's a phenomenal match and story and came so close to, Paul Bearer's death.
Yeah.
Which I feel made it quite unique. We had some comments here, to like, someone thinks Mordecai could have beaten the streak.
I think it'd be a terrible thing, would it?
I don't think so. I think the thing is, Mordecai, he flopped because they didn't want to go all in.
Yeah.
And Kevin Thorne, who obviously then went on to become Kevin Thorne in ECW a couple of years later, he liked those kind of gimmicks. And I think they were always trying to find like a night and day to the Undertaker kind of thing. And obviously, they had the Kane feud for a long time. And they realised they couldn't keep obviously rehashing that. But I think Mordecai, they just gave up on, didn't they? They kind of gave him... Didn't they debut at Judgment Day 2005, 2004 even, against Scotty 2 Hotty? Did the usual, squashed a few people, and then just kind of disappeared, very much.
You can hear every single floorboard in my house because of this mic. Makes a change from not being able to hear anything on the podcast, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, true.
I did discover what the issue was. It was Windows 10 update broke it. So Microsoft, if you can hear this, fix it.
Yes, please. We don't like our sound issues. And also comments about the Ramones.
Can you name one Ramones song, Lucas?
The thing is, I'm more of an album fan with the Ramones. But Ramones, the thing is, they were...
Can we have a Josh Shed update?
They love to shed, Josh.
They do. Right, we can, but I can't promise that you'll be able to hear me. But I can turn my phone into a webcam and walk down there. I don't know how long it'll last, though. Maybe we'll do that later.
We'll try it in the next part. Yeah, maybe we'll try it a bit later. But anyway, I understood that you've got a little quiz for us as well, Josh.
Yeah, well, more for you, but everyone else can take part as well. Everyone watching. So, you've all heard of quizzes where you have to name the song, but this is a new one that I'm trying out. Can you name the WWE theme song in reverse?
Okay.
I don't want to see it, just tell me. Vinny, the shed is still up. It still works. And currently, it is not a sauna because the weather is terrible. But then again, I say the weather is terrible if it's too hot, so it's like 50-50. But yeah, I chose WWE theme songs because they're a little bit more recognisable than any other company.
Yeah.
Obviously, some TNA ones are different, but we don't... I can't be bothered to do TNA. It's better quality with WWE ones. So, I'm going to have to share my screen for this because it's the only way it'll work. But, away we go. So, we're going to do the first two, and then we'll do some more later on. I do have 8 in total, but I've not put them all in this folder because I'm clever like that. But, here's the first one, if you can hear it.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. Sorry that we are live.
I'm not sure if you can hear that.
I'm not hearing anything, Josh.
Huh?
I'm not hearing it. I can't hear it.
I know the issue. I've done the same thing as I did last time. I didn't share my output. There we go. Now let's try it. It is probably going to come up as a black screen because for some reason I exported them as videos.
Okay. That's Shinsuke.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's got to be Shinsuke.
No.
The Freak Profit.
Yep. So that took you 26 seconds to guess, which means you've got. I'm doing golf rules.
Okay.
So the less points you have, the better. Therefore, you have 26 points on the first one.
Okay.
And if we move on to the second. I did not know how much of a mess this was when I listened to it first time.
That's Brock Lesnar.
That was 15 seconds. So you've got 15 points on that one. Let's move swiftly on to our next whatever you wanted to talk about.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's, yeah, so obviously we've got, so that was interesting actually, because I thought, the first one sounded a lot like Shinsuke, but then as it kind of went on, there's only when I...
Vinny, it's not Nakamura.
Yeah, as it went on, I got that it was obviously the Street Profits,
Yeah.
so this is quite a fun game. And
Yeah.
if you have been watching What Culture, we watch...
What Culture did it as well. That's where I got the idea.
You know, so we credit them, I guess, but I mean, they have thousands of subscribers, so maybe some of them come over to us.
Whoa, I see what you mean, Vinny. My mouse did go mad, didn't it? We've got a delay on the stream from real time, obviously.
But look, if you are enjoying it, we do appreciate your comments and your watching of this as we go on with this. And we thank we hope that people have enjoyed the series too. We've had a blast of them the last 2 weeks, isn't it, Josh? I think we had some great episodes focusing on some great guests as well. My personal favourite from the series really was the overrated and underrated episode, just because of you saying Owen Hart is the most overrated wrestler, but also the fact that I called David Starr, which at the time I thought was kind of going to come to.
It's got a bit robot-y. Lucas, hold up. Something has gone wrong with it. Whoa! What was that?
As we're not a political
Lucas!
cast, those kind of allegations, necessarily.
Hold on.
Shall we cut to our next interview, perhaps?
Oh, it's all good now.
Yeah, it seems to be all good now.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. We were talking about our favourite episode of the series. What was your favourite episode of the series, then?
Ooh. It's a tricky one, because there are two I really liked. CM Punk episode, because I'm a massive fan of CM Punk, and obviously he is the inspiration for my pipe bomb challenge, which Vinny Daniels, who's asked to be referred to in future as Long Dong Lankin.
He'll family-friendly podcast.
Yeah, he'll be on the stream later with his interview along with Pris Hunter. But yeah, he was the winner of the pipe bomb challenge, which debuted on the CM Punk episode, which only makes sense. But yeah, I'm stuck between CM Punk and the TNA/Impact Wrestling episode, because that was the episode that I hosted, and that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, look, Josh and I, we have an interesting working dynamic here where obviously I'm more of the host and the kind of researcher on most of these things. On that in particular, it was fully a Josh kind of thing. And we go through a process in the week, and we we don't want to go too much into our recording schedule because we like the magic somewhat to still be there. But, a lot of them have been me kind of doing the back work of the watching of stuff. And
you've been doing all the writing, etc. I do all the tech stuff.
Yeah, but it's been an interesting dynamic. And I think the CM Punk episode with the guest being Daniels, and it is kind of ironic that he then went on to win the Pipe Bomb Challenge. Our very first ever guest.
Our first guest, the first person to do the Pipe Bomb Challenge, and now the first winner of the Pipe Bomb Challenge. So,
I'm assuming Long Dong is very happy with that.
He's asked the question now.
What's he asked?
It's for you. What happens to Sonia in the end?
Oh God! So he knows that will always get me.
Am I missing something?
This is from Little Britain. Controversy, I know. Sorry.
It's not controversial. The world is full of snowflakes. That's controversial.
I'm going to buy it. I haven't even got anything to play DVD on. I actually got my laptop with that. I'm going to buy it on DVD because that series, or find it on YouTube or something, because that series is phenomenal and should not been taken off iPlayer or off Netflix or whatever. But anyway, let's get to our next guest. We were joined by Lewis Barrett. We're talking about that Impact episode. That was our last week's episode. And so here's what he had to say about The Undertaker.
Here we go.
So, Lewis Barrett, what is your favourite memory or moment from the legendary...
The fact that he just looked really...
So, Lewis Barrett, what is your favourite memory or moment from the legendary career of the man known as The Undertaker?
Oh, so my favourite memory is that whole 4-year feud with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I think a lot of people are going to say that, to be fair, as well. And I'm going to throw a little caveat out there that I actually enjoyed mostly Saudi matches as well. Mainly because it was such an attraction, because it was just so very, very off, very, very few and far between. Even though the Styles match was just chokeslam 1, 2, 3, I'm going to disregard that Saudi match, because it just came across as even more sad from the fact that he just looked really, really nice and really look and feel his age, and the fact that his singlet really covered up like his entire body.
I do feel sorry for the Saudi audience in that sense, because they've gotten all these amazing legendary talents in matches just at the wrong time.
Yeah. The Goldberg match was it was unbelievably terrible, wasn't it? But to be fair, that wasn't The Undertaker's fault. But the problem with The Undertaker at that point was he literally was just after that perfect match, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And as much as, I can imagine like everyone's looking at the perfect final match. There are some controllables that you just cannot. You just can't. Fate will just mean that some things will just out your hands. If just Goldberg decides to headbutt the wall and then concuss himself going into it, there's nothing much you can do. But I did enjoy DX versus Kane and Undertaker. But I believe that's in Australia though. but I did really enjoy that one because he did.
No, that was Crown Jewel too. He faced Triple H in Australia to set it up.
Right.
So.
Although my favourite period on his full-time run would be those 4 matches in WrestleMania between Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Although I do, in my opinion, I would like to have seen the end of the Undertaker after the streak, to be honest. Because it was coming across to me anyway that it was so only being brought in just to defend the streak. It got to the point where it was taking a spot off the card off of someone else just because they threw millions at Undertaker just to come in and just do 2 matches a year, or at that point even 1 match.
Yeah, it was down to just 1, I think.
And I mean, I was there for the Undertaker for the Brock Lesnar match, and despite the great card that show was, it was a shame that it was the case of he was just limping to the ring even before he even got to the ring, wasn't it? And
yeah, he was concussed and during the match, I believe, and there was problems obviously afterwards. But I mean, I'd argue we got some good stuff afterwards still, because when he faced Lesnar the next year, definitely the Hell in a Cell match, I think that was quite a high point.
It would, but what I would say is the Undertaker's character at that point was just purely the streak, and that to me just bugged me a little bit. That was all.
So, I mean, we've asked the question a lot, and so do you think it was the right time now, following Boneyard, to retire?
I'd say so. I mean, it was the perfect full circle in that respect, because it did just epitomise all 3 faces of the Undertaker, i.e. American Badass, the Dead Man, and obviously at the end, Mark. At the end, obviously, where they kept on referring to his actual real name, and 30 years as well is like a very weird round number that people seem to just retire when it's a milestone year, don't they?
Yeah.
Obviously, a good friend we know, Lucas, Doug Williams, retired after 25 years, at Wembley Arena, and it seems like a lot of people retire when it's 10 years, 15. It's never 17. It's always either 15 or 20. So,
yeah. Numbers play a part in this, I think. For some people, they think of it, and especially I think decades as well, because it's he's now wrestled from the 90s to the 2020. What the hell with this decade? 2020s. I mean, in terms of those 4 matches, though, what do you think was the best out of each pairing? So, what was the best Triple H Taker match, and what was the best Taker and HBK match? I know people have different opinions on these.
The favourite Triple H one was Hell in a Cell when Shawn was the referee, I believe.
Yeah.
And I also enjoyed the Shawn one where he jumped into the tombstone for the finish.
Oh yeah, that was Mania 25. I think that was voted WWE.com's best match of all time on numerous occasions, and obviously it's over 10 years old now. But what's weird is that he seemed to kind of have a better career towards the middle end part, I'm guessing, because I mean we have to discard his last few years as not being too great, but definitely in the 2000s against his feuds like Batista and Edge, Kurt Angle, Randy Orton. This is kind of endless, and CM Punk as well was another big feud he had that went down a treat, and this is really towards the end of his full-time run, which is, I think, quite unique in a way.
Tell you another little story that I thought he actually really excelled at was when he was the Hardcore Champion.
Yes, in 2001, 2002, wasn't it?
About that.
You know what? I thought he actually done a really great job with the Hardcore Championship. He really legitimised the whole division, in fact, because he had very good matches with Spike Dudley in that little feud, and Rob Van Dam as well. Really just elevated them, put them on the map, didn't it? And I feel he done an excellent job for what the title needed at that time as well.
I think those matches are another one of those kind of proofs that just because someone has lost doesn't mean they've been buried, because losing to The Undertaker elevates a lot of people's careers, not just beating him as well.
Yeah, you look at literally just recently, Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, takeover in your house.
Yeah.
That's been described as an absolute career-defining performance for Priest, wasn't it?
Well and truly.
Yeah. So I believe there are times where losing just does you absolutely no harm. I just think just literally having the rub of working with something like that is fantastic. I think even Rusev even paid tribute to him by saying that casket match was literally one of the favourite matches he's ever done.
Yeah, I don't think Aiden English would say the same thing, though, maybe. But yeah, I think definitely towards the end, I think as we got closer to the end, I think people knew that him kind of working with you was a way of kind of being like, he kind of must respect you because he is, willing to put his life and his legacy and career like in your hands, in order to do phenomenal stuff. And I think final question, asking everyone, what is his legacy? What will you remember the Undertaker for? And will he go into Hall of Fame next year, do you think?
Okay, so just to quickly say a Hall of Fame career, 100% into the next year, I would imagine so. But in terms of what defines him, in my opinion, as a more of a character-based worker myself, he's got to be the most unique characters, and that's transcended generations, that he's obviously kept relevant for so long and adapted for so long. So it was, so more it's defined that he preserves kayfabe, and he respected the business so much so that he let it become his life, and no one really did that at that time. So if they were defined with him, to me, would be the definition of a big man wrestler who can a big man wrestler that not also just keeps the kayfabe, but also he was psychology 101. He would never ever do anything that he really felt didn't make sense. As much as he did do a dive over the ropes or whatever, but you can argue he was one of those guys where he definitely just saved it when it mattered.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you very much for joining us, Lewis Barrett, and back to live Lucas in the studio.
You're welcome, guys. Thank
Let's
you so
go
much.
back to the future.
Yeah.
Hello. I was eating, my bad.
Everyone,
It was.
there's Barrett thoughts on the Undertaker. We had a good little chat there. He mentioned the 4 matches, which I think it comes up quite a lot, with Triple H and HBK.
Vinny, no. I read those out of my head. I'm not giving those a shout out.
But yeah, anyway, we're back now. So yeah, let's do some more themes. Some more things ready anyway. As we are cracking on a bit. So yeah, what are the next two themes that you have for me to guess?
Let's find out. Should be playing. Oh wow, that was loud. I thought I put my phone down. Playing. Oh, it crashed. Oops.
I said this is live, and no, we are. It's our first live stream as well.
There we go. Give it a second. It's got an outro. Yep. That was 10 seconds, so you got 10 points on that one. Which is good, you're getting quicker. Let's see if you can get the... Oh, hello. That's not what I want. Let's see if you can get the next one. This one might be a little bit trickier. This is going back to NXT again. One of my favourite things. No, nothing. Yep. EC3, top 1%.
Sorry, he's never been on TV, so forgotten what his music sounded like.
So that gives you 43 points for that one. Oh
Bloody
dear.
hell, yeah. Legitimately had no idea. Okay, right. Okay, I've got to make up in the finale a bit later.
Yeah, you've got 4 more tries. 4 more tries.
Yeah. So in that little segment we did with Barrett, he spoke about those 4 matches, Triple H and Undertaker,
Yeah.
Triple H and Shawn Michaels. You know, the 4 years back to back, and I think this was probably as strong of an Undertaker
Probably
that you
not.
got. I mean, I still have goosebumps thinking about that match I had with Shawn Michaels at Mania 5, which absolutely stole just not even the show, just even the decade. I'd argue it was such a phenomenal match.
Quite easily.
The whole, the dive, dive to the outside that he almost died on, and I think he continued to have that match afterwards. And
I mean, Mick Foley was near to death as well in his Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker.
Well, yeah, Hell in a Cell. How can we
But
that?
I was watching an interview with Undertaker the other day, where in the match with Mick Foley he says the Hell in a Cell roof wasn't actually meant to break.
No, it wasn't.
As he was as they were walking, obviously, when he did it with HBK the first time, they were a lot lighter. Like the combined weights of Mick Foley and Undertaker, he's saying he's walking past, and the metal ties holding the roof up, he could hear just pinging off.
Yeah, it must have been a very scary experience.
Yeah.
And obviously since then they've done things like when they did the fall with
They've reinforced it and
Foley
fixed it.
Yeah, or they planned the falls, like they have done with Shane McMahon or Mick Foley the second time against Triple H.
I don't think they ever planned Shane McMahon's falls until the last minute when he goes, "I'm doing this, by the way."
And yes, many people do still watch NXT. There's still somewhat 500,000 people.
I still watch it.
Want to watch it, but then too many people want to watch the real stuff, I guess. But but anyway, no, I think in Undertaker, those first 2 Hell in a Cell matches, we must forget the first one against Shawn Michaels in this, which again ties it in all nicely into the fact that he later on had, I'd argue, one of the best, definitely within the top 5 matches in the history of wrestling against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25, and not a close second in the rematch he had with Michael for the next year. which was the main event of WrestleMania 26, career versus streak. But that first Hell in a Cell match, and seeing what Taker did in Hell in a Cell over the years, he beats CM Punk for the world title. He a lot inside that Hell in a Cell structure. Faced Kane.
Well, I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
My favourite Undertaker WrestleMania match is against CM Punk.
Oh, okay. So you've kind of gone, to that side too.
Yeah, when you hear it, and you're like, I remember it now.
It was a phenomenal match and story, like we touched upon, and I think the story's always been there with Undertaker, I'd argue. And he's been one of those best
even Paul Bearer's family giving CM Punk permission, essentially, to carry on using the urn, etc., and using Paul Bearer.
Yeah, and you had Paul Heyman, involved with it, which I think really adds a gratis to a match, and
Is that another little Britain reference?
What's that?
Tell Lucas, if I eat today, I don't eat tomorrow.
That's a Matt Ball quote, I believe. That's a
Matt
Ball quote. Yeah, it's a Matt Ball quote. When he didn't have enough money to eat for 2 days or something, and he said, "If I eat today, I don't eat tomorrow." Legendary Matt Ball. But anyway, we'll be back in a second. Let's now cut to our next interview, which was with young Danny Chapman. We caught up with him about the Undertaker, as we have been the whole podcast.
I've been worried if you weren't.
and after this, we'll have some more news and the finale, the final 2 clips from the music game.
Oh, Danny boy.
So, Danny Chapman, thanks for joining us on this special episode of the podcast. We're talking about the Undertaker. So, let me hear your favourite memory or moment of the legendary Dead Man.
Well, my favourite moment is a recent moment in the Undertaker's amazing career. It's when he faced John Cena at WrestleMania, and it's one of my favourite because it was so good to see him act like he was in his prime again.
Yeah. Would you like to see maybe a longer match between the two?
To be honest, I would have loved to see a longer match, but then I feel like if it was longer, it would have ruined it, really. Because if he would have gone longer, then I feel like he would have just lost all of it. But as it stayed the way it was, it felt like, oh my God, this is The Undertaker. This is what he's been doing for the last 30 years, 25 years. And that's what was really good to see. Yeah.
I think there was a lot of positive things said about that match and about that story, and I think that's something which has gone on through Taker for a long time, and he was always willing to kind of do whatever was needed for the show or for the business. I mean, something we discussed before we started recording was obviously his match with Jeff Hardy, ladder match. I think you're a fan of that one, I believe.
Yes, I'm very that match. It felt like that's what really got me into wrestling, because I saw that and I thought, whoa, this guy's huge and he's doing all this stuff that maybe I could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's very relatable, isn't he? He's very relatable to an extent, even though he has this extreme kind of gimmick going on for him. I mean, you touched upon as well, so his last WrestleManias, obviously, and appearances have been, few and far between. Is there anyone that you think's missing that he could have faced in the last few years that he hasn't faced?
Well, I feel like the match with AJ Styles, that completed it for Undertaker, the way the gimmick is. But I would have loved to have seen a match with him against Randy Orton again.
Ooh.
Because... And I say this because Randy Orton was originally supposed to end the streak, but I would have loved to see, because where Randy Orton's got this new thing going, I'd like to see maybe, Randy Orton finally does end the Undertaker.
Yeah, I think isn't he back with Flair now as well, isn't he?
Yeah. I've kind of noticed he's got this kind of legend killer gimmick back somehow. I think maybe
which
that's
I really like.
Showing up again. Yeah, I've loved this side of Randy Orton for so long, and
that's why I believe that if Randy Orton finally does kill the legend of the Undertaker, that would do it for me.
I think that would be the retirement match that I'd love for Randy Orton to end the Undertaker's kind of career.
Or
But without it coming off as like, I'm ending your career, I'm injuring you. No, like ending your career is like a genuinely good match that they probably could both have. I don't see it being 20 minutes or longer though. I see Undertaker, because you listen to some of the interviews that Undertaker's done, especially on The Last Ride, and he mentions how he's preparing for all these 20-25 minute matches, but the preparation is getting harder every single time. Yeah. So I can't see him going for another 20-25 minute match, especially with Randy Orton. Randy Orton could definitely pull it off though. I think he's been in his prime for like the last 15 years.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, bringing it back to Taker though. I mean, another name that got thrown out there was Drew, the Taker versus Drew McIntyre to potentially happen. Is that something either you'd be interested in seeing?
To be honest, not really, because I feel like it'd be like another match for the Undertaker. I don't think it'd have any backstory to it.
I wouldn't say no to it, but it's not something I'm actively seeking out, if that makes sense.
I mean, the main pitch, obviously, online seems to be the whole kind of Drew needs that kind of defining victory. But didn't Drew kind of get that when he beat Lesnar? But, I mean, does beating Undertaker is that like the next step above Lesnar? I think that's the kind of thought process that people are having with it. But I think, is anyone else, like any other names that would have popped up, over the last few years that you would have thought?
I'd like
Aleister Black. Just Aleister Black versus Undertaker at WrestleMania. What a show the spectacle that would be.
Well, you got the two kind of dark gimmicks, haven't you? That way, I guess. I think, obviously, something we're asking all the people then as well is, do you think he should go into the Hall of Fame? And if so, does he go in next year? Does he get his own class, or does he get whatever? What do you think, Chappers?
I think he should go into the Hall of Fame because he is a legend, but I think they should wait a couple years. Just because I feel like everyone's still got this mind of, Undertaker, he's fake retiring, If they do it now, I feel like if they wait, it still lets all that, he's coming back, and then they put that out saying, oh my god, this is actually really the end of the Undertaker.
I mean, is it though? Because with respect, Goldberg has had world championship reigns after being in the Hall of Fame. It's an interesting kind of caveat now, I guess. But I think, but someone like Undertaker, I think he would potentially retire. He said he retired now, but I think he would definitely retire if he goes into the Hall of Fame. I don't see there being any way for him to come back. But anyway, final question for you then. Final question. What's your favourite Undertaker match? That's not the Cena one, because I'm guessing that was a moment more than a match. But what's your favourite Undertaker match then?
Oh, this is hard. I'm gonna go with Undertaker versus CM Punk, and there's a reason behind that. It's because I liked the way Undertaker and CM Punk had that story, and I felt like it actually was a good match at Mania.
Yeah, I mean, many feel that it's possibly one of these last kind of great matches. There has been other good ones since then, but yeah, definitely that program with Punk, and obviously just after Paul Bearer had died, and obviously allowing Paul Bearer's family allowing Punk to really ramp up the heat intensity with having that.
And I felt like that kind of brought back the old side of Undertaker as well with the Paul Bearer part. I felt like he was like I felt like that was the redemption he needed.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Chapman, for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Back to us live in the studio.
We're back.
And again, that CM Punk match comes up with Chapman, and so did the match with Jeff Hardy. And so I think the next little bit we talk about, Undertaker working with some of the younger talent throughout the years, particularly in his 2001, 2002 phase where he was hardcore champion, and then the undisputed champion following that. Don't know where Josh has gone.
I'm still here. Don't worry. Just give me a second.
Okay. So obviously in 2001, 2002, Undertaker he worked obviously with Jeff Hardy very famously. He worked with Tommy Dreamer as well. That whole kind of Tommy Dreamer doing his eating crap kind of storyline. Eating crap, no, I'm talking crap. There we are. That could be a challenge for next season, actually, couldn't it?
Potentially a foodie challenge.
Really rotten food challenges. I don't know if people are into that kind of stuff still. But yeah, Undertaker worked with a lot of young talent. And even more recently, he worked with Rusev in Saudi Arabia a couple of years ago. And probably one of the better Saudi matches he had, which I guess is not hard when the other one is Goldberg and the train wreck. That was
you can't win with Undertaker at Saudi, can you?
Not at all. I think obviously it came out like a bad time really, for him. But I think so obviously he worked with a lot of younger talent throughout the years basically, and even at Mania, like he worked with Punk, like people touched upon. He worked with Bray Wyatt as well at 31.
Yeah. Do you know what? I wouldn't mind him going with Bray Wyatt one more time, but as the Fiend instead.
Yeah, there's a lot of story there, I'd argue,
and there's a lot of people that have been begging for the Fiend and Undertaker to take each other on.
Yeah, I don't know if it was rumoured around this year's Mania before obviously the card became very predictable that it was going to be Reigns and originally Reigns and Goldberg, but it just seemed that that could have been a case. But I'm glad we got Firefly Funhouse.
Yeah.
But Undertaker, I think definitely one of those who's worked with a lot of the younger talent as well as the established too. So he really did try his best, I think, overall to kind of be that kind of
do a massive fact hunt
top
next
10 performer. Fact hunt? What do you mean fact hunt? Please describe this.
Give us some facts.
And I understand Vinny's got some shout outs allegedly that he wanted to. Look, listen how bad these are, guys. So
I was kind of ignoring it, if I'm honest.
He's asked us to shout out. We'll predict it. Please, the pause is for laughter. Mike Hunt.
Oh, for God's sake.
And his dear friend Barry McCocken. Barry, yeah, I don't understand that. Is that maybe Barry McCocken?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah.
Vinny, you've got to actually tell us what a fact hunt is. You can't just tell us to do it if we don't know what we're on about.
I don't know what he's on about.
No,
but we're going to go to the song game in a second anyway. Before we do, just final little bits and pieces of Undertaker. I think I'm going to miss him. I think a lot of people in wrestling will miss him.
You'll never have something like him again. Ever.
No. And I think we touched upon it in all our interviews, so I don't know if you want to repeat it. But I do think obviously he is Hall of Fame worthy, and perhaps they will potentially wait a couple of years before they do that.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was said it, but I think the mystique of him kind of maybe coming back over the next couple of years might be a good thing. But then obviously ultimately I think once he goes into the Hall of Fame, that would be probably the best time to sort of end it fully. But it is good to have that kind of like, oh, will he, won't he kind of thing come back for a little while. Which I think they love teasing us, don't they? The WWE.
I have no idea what Vinny's going on about now. Apparently we keep saying it.
Fat tongue.
Yeah.
Oh. I think I get it now. It's taken a little while.
Now you've said it out loud like that. Right. Well. Anyway.
Strong game.
Moving swiftly on, we've got 2 more remaining.
Indeed. Let me see if I can redeem myself.
Wait, did I do that with audio? I don't think I did. Oh, I did.
The last time obviously was very slow.
Yeah. Right, so we have done up to number 4. That means we have 4 remaining. We're halfway through. Let's go with the next one.
Lashley?
Huh?
Lashley.
It's so easy, you can get it. That's cheating, don't look at the comments. No, you've got 10 seconds before you get the full 60 points. Vinny, shut up! Stop helping him!
No, nothing's coming to me.
Well, you got the full 60 points on that because you went the full 60 seconds. It was actually D-Generation X.
Oh, okay.
You can hear it now, can't you?
Yeah, kind of. It sounds really weird backwards, though. Bloody hell. Okay.
Everything sounds weird backwards. Okay, on to number 6. This is one of the weirder ones.
It is.
See what I mean? Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. You got 12 points on that one. We'll do the last 2 after our final interview.
Indeed. And this is what I'm very excited about. This interview, we caught up with both Vinny Daniels, and it is his time. He said it's Vinny time. And he actually did guest the X several times, sorry.
Yeah, that's why I was telling him to shut up and
legend.
stop helping.
Yeah, I mean, I was legitimately playing the game, so I didn't want to check the feed. But Vinny did get it, so well done, Vinny. But anyway, the interview we got with both Vinny Daniels and Pris Hunter, who were both in the series earlier in the series, Vinny on the CM Punk episode, and Pris obviously on the women's episode, which actually been one of our most popular episodes, I believe. And we will be doing and revisiting some of these topics in series 2. But yeah, we caught with both of them and spoke obviously about Undertaker and probably our most favourite interview. So without further ado, over to Vinny and Pris.
Away we go.
So now we're joined by both Vinny Daniels and Pris Hunter, and we're still talking about...
Did somebody order a cunt? Because here I am.
God, we love you. We love having you on. Of course, the Part 1 Promo Challenge winner as well. We're never going to let anyone live that down. But anyway, we are here to talk about The Undertaker. And so the question to both of you, like it is to everyone else, what are your favourite moments, matches or memories about the dead man, basically? First to you, Vin.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on the Smoking Crack podcast. It's always a pleasure.
Not a thing.
It's going to be a thing.
No, but that's how we come up with the name.
Exactly. We're Smoking Crack. Your favourite Taker memories? Oh, God, there's loads. I really think his match with, I think it was WrestleMania 18 with Ric Flair was underrated. I think that doesn't get enough attention. Like, 2 of the biggest icons in the industry. That was pretty sick. And as well, I like Biker Taker. I know a lot of people did, but I thought it was pretty cool. It's sort of it's the one I sort of, when I was really getting into wrestling, like that's what he was at, you know, sort of 2001, 2002. I think he went back to being the dead man, but or was it 2003? I don't know.
2004.
2004. There you go. Yeah, so he had a good 2-year run as that, and like, or 2 or 3 year run, and that's sort of what I grew up on, and that sort of one. I didn't know him as the dead man initially. It was only later on when I saw footage, so I really like that.
Fair enough. I think as well, the WrestleMania 18 match was the first match they kind of identified the streak as being a thing, I think. Got to about 9 or 10 wins at that point. How about you, Pris? What were your favourite moments of the dead man?
Well, I think, I show my young age here, but like, because my first, like when I got into wrestling, the first feud I remember was his feud with Batista going into WrestleMania. So like for me, that's like it's a good match as well. But it's like for me, that's always been like the sort of when I think of the Undertaker, I think of that era.
Yeah,
like
I think
the long singlet.
Yeah, that was obviously like when he was really the SmackDown locker room leader at that time, and it was helping a lot of guys kind of be established in the business, such as Batista, like you mentioned, Booker T, Mr. Kennedy.
and a few others around SmackDown at that time.
Because then obviously had his big match with Edge at the WrestleMania after that, and I'm pretty sure he was like injured for ages between it because he had that steel cage match as well, which I remember.
Yeah. I think that's one of the last kind of bloody feuds as well. I think the WWE did, before going PG the next year. Batista and Undertaker, as a lot of the footage, which obviously when they've shown it, they show it in like the black and white kind of, Sin City-esque kind of vibe to it because of the amount of blood. And I think as well that 24 match gets mentioned quite often because it was streak versus streak, wasn't it? Because Edge was undefeated and it was the title as well, and he won the title 2 years in a row. I think he's due with Edge. Let's actually delve in. And that was he got to work a program with Undertaker about, I think it was almost a year, pretty much. They wrestled at SummerSlam. They held on a cell match at TLC, and they had some just amazing kind of things. And I think, to you then, Vin, do you think people like Edge and CM Punk later on working with Taker was a massive deal?
I think specifically Edge, it's huge for him. It's like this. You never heard the expression "punch above your weight." I think Edge getting to work Undertaker is the equivalent of Josh Porter dating Katy Perry. Like, it's going to elevate him. He's punched above his weight.
I don't know what I'm more offended about: the fact that you said that, or the fact that you're right about it.
Exactly. So I think particularly for Edge, because listen, I get Edge has got a huge following, and this is probably for a different podcast, but I do think he's overrated. Whereas CM Punk, I think one of the greatest workers of all time, deserves to be working someone like the Undertaker. And I think regardless if he worked the Undertaker or not, he'd be in that position. But I think for Edge, he needed that really to take him to the next level.
You missed the overrated and underrated episode. That was a few weeks back.
I don't think Ed got mentioned on that, but
he is. He's the most.
I'm starting to consider that I should have changed my answer from Owen Hart to Edge.
Speaking of punch above the weight as well, which is more topical, Undertaker, Michelle McCool, like 15, 20 years younger than him, fit. How's he done that? Come on.
Money, and wasn't she? I mean, it was obviously when they first got together, she was obviously on the main roster, wouldn't she?
She likes that long dead man dick, that's what I'm telling you.
We're definitely not a family-friendly podcast.
The Tombstone.
I mean, how about you then, Pris? I mean, do you think that there's any other guys, apart from what we meant to touch upon Edge and obviously Punk in there, were any other guys in the past, like, let's say 10 years or so, that have benefited from working with Undertaker?
The only ones that come to mind is like Carly and Kozlov, like squashing him in their like first few weeks or first match for some of them. That sort of like didn't pan out for Kozlov, but Carly sort of got the world title on and all that sort of thing. And like I feel like it was sort of off the back of squashing Taker.
Well, yeah.
I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head, really.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that whole period, really. I think they were trying to establish someone to kind of, become maybe maybe not the new Undertaker, but someone who was kind of going to be on his level. And I think there's still that kind of shock value that happens, I think, when you beat the Undertaker, or when you did used to beat Undertaker. Obviously, he's now retired. In terms of Hall of Fame, then, like next year, like, do you think that's something which I'll ask you first, Chris, but both of you, do you think it's something we're talking about for next year, or are we talking about future down the line?
Within the next sort of 2 or 3 years. I'm not 100% if it go next year. I don't know. It's just because we haven't even got like this year's Hall of Fame done.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of, I feel like that's going to throw things up, but like.
It's a weird kind of thing because we're talking about like a guy who really, he could even do the class by himself, really.
Yeah.
But and they might want to save it for he's only 55. I don't think he's had any major kind of life health problems. He's got obviously injuries, but he's not one of those where you think he's not going to make it a few years.
Well, he's retired for like 5 years running, so he'll be back. Like.
Same question to you, Vin. Do you think he will go in the Hall of Fame next year?
No, I think he's going AEW. No.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, no. I don't. I'll be honest. I don't think he's retired. I know they make. I think it's a work. I've got my skeptic hat on. I think it's a work. I think there's no way someone who's had a 30-year career as good a 30-year career as him, that they're going to retire him in lockdown without a crowd, like without a farewell match as well. Like, if it had been after Roman Reigns when he lost at Mania, and he had put the hat and the coat down, then yeah, I thought that would have been a moment that would have done him justice to retire on. Obviously, he decided he wanted to keep going, but there's no way he ends now just in lockdown. Like, okay, yeah, I'm retired. There's no way. He needs a moment.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's so much floating about. Obviously, at the moment, wrestling's very, very weird, and obviously Undertaker. I think the Boneyard match. I think it felt like a retirement match, but then so did the Reigns match, so did the Goldberg match, so did the Crown Jewel match. Like I said, it just feels like he has been retiring for a very long time now, like, over and over again. It is a question of, I'll ask it then, to both of you, any of you, do you think he has that one more kind of 15, 20-minute epic match? Could he match the...
Yeah, I think with the right worker he could. I mean, it's a shame. I think it could have been, if we went for lockdown, AJ could have been the one, because AJ can get a good match out of anything like a broomstick, and it would be like, oh my god, that's 5 stars. So yeah, I think it depends where he works. If you're going to put him in there with someone like a Roman Reigns, it's not, and that's not anything against Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns will work to his level and is capable of having a very good match, but not necessarily a good match with a 55-year-old Undertaker. Whereas I think AJ's like the kind of worker that he can get a good, even if it'll seem like a Daniel Bryan. And I think Undertaker as well. We said it on the network documentary. He always seemed to have better matches with the smaller guys as well. It seemed to work, but he had that dynamic. And I know you've had people mention it before on the podcast, but he mentioned his matches with Shawn work so well because of that big guy, little guy dynamic, that he seemed to have a better match. I think if that was the case, then I think he could have a big 15-20 minute match.
So long as it's not Brock Lesnar, I'll be sorted.
What about you, Chris? Do you think? Same question, basically.
I think 15 minutes would be pushing it, just because he's just an old man now. Like, whenever you look at him, he just looks old. You know what I mean?
In fairness, his entrance is like 10 minutes alone.
It's gas by the time he hits the ring. But I think he could have a good 8-10 minute match with a bigger guy where he doesn't have to move around as much and doesn't have to this. I don't think he could have a good. Obviously, he can work well or whatever, but I don't think he'd have a longer match with a lot of work rate. I think it will be spectacle. It will sort of lean into.
Yeah, I think we're at the point. How I feel is I think we're at the point of now. Does he need it? And I think the answer is probably no. I think I would love to see him and AJ have a Mania 20-minute match that could have been potentially very good. But then obviously I wouldn't have liked to see him and AJ go to Mania and have a 20-minute match that wasn't good. So we are in that kind of territory now. And obviously I think we're at the right phase. So wrap this up and final thoughts then. What will The Undertaker be remembered for by the wrestling community in WWE and further abroad, obviously, because he is obviously one of those iconic figures. First to you then, Chris.
Blue lights.
Blue lights.
To be fair, I don't think Undertaker, that's where my brain goes to. But I think the streak sort of as the big match draw, or the big show draw rather.
You can't replicate it really, can it?
Yeah, it'll always be I don't know, somebody wins 3 years in a row, but oh, catching up to Undertaker. And I feel like that would just be an ongoing thing. Same with Honky Tonk Man. Someone wins it for more than 30 days, they're getting up there. It's it's just going to fall into that kind of spot.
Same question to you, Vin. What do you remember for?
Being used as Teddy Long's main punishment. You two gonna have a tag team match, and you're gonna go 1-on-1 with the Undertaker.
I do think that's gonna be a meme for a long time, and people will be quoting those for a very long time. But anyway, thanks for joining us.
Before we go, can we not forget about the time that DDP stalked him and his wife, and then his wife beat DDP clean?
Yeah. Invasion Raw.
and then he had the tattoo of Sarah, didn't he? And then he divorced her, and he had to cover it up.
And it was his throat as well, wasn't it? So it must be really painful.
What a dickhead!
Fucking, laser to the throat. But yeah,
they're the only kind of tattoos that I don't do is people's faces or names.
What about ones on your bellend?
That's a little different. I can see that.
So you're not ruling it out, is what you're saying? You heard
I'm not saying yes.
You heard it here first on the Smoke and Crack podcast. Josh
Talking
Porter
crap.
is getting Smoke and Crack is getting his belly pierced. And he's getting Vinny
No,
Daniels'
not
name
pierced. Tattooed, but not pierced.
Yeah,
if you pay me enough, I'll get your name done.
You're getting Vinny Daniels and my logo tattooed on it. Actually, is it big enough? Probably not.
On that lovely note, thanks for joining us, Vin. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Back to us live on the live stream somewhere.
Dear, oh dear.
And we're back. You can't hear Lucas yet because I've got to unmute him. There we go. Lucas is back as well.
Perfect. Well, I mean, that was our final interview that we had. Obviously, we had lots of comments come from that. I'm sure throughout the week, whatever, if people have more comments about it, they free to have, because I can only start the Undertaker in these words, really. Like, he's just legendary. He's one of a kind. He's never been replicated or redone.
No, it's impossible to replicate.
No, we only touch upon the surface, really, of Undertaker. We didn't even mention
Vinny, I think we might get taken down for YouTube's terms of service if we do that.
Oh God, the tattoo. Well, if you do want to see one of us get a tattoo, well, Josh get a tattoo, then please comment or something. We could start an OnlyFans, perhaps. That could be the way.
Maybe.
If you'd like to see a Talking Crap OnlyFans, let us know. But I mean, yeah, Undertaker, just what an icon, and we didn't even touch upon the fact that he led the Ministry of Darkness stable for many years.
No, there's so many things that we've missed that we could definitely maybe do another episode on.
Yeah, I mean, this one was obviously more this reaction about his retirement and some of his favourite memories. And we've spoken to people who are...
Do it for educational purposes. What, the tattoo or the OnlyFans?
I think they want the OnlyFans. That's something which we'll have to see. But let's we'll come back in a second after we do our song game. And if you have any kind of final comments about the Undertaker, not about tattoos, whatever, then we'll go through those. And we'll sign off and tell you the date we shall be returning with podcasts.
You can tell me the date because I've forgotten it.
Well, I'll be telling that after the song. The last two songs.
I know when we plan on recording it. That's about it. Rightio, away we go. Right, the last two, which are, I think they're easy, but that's just because I made them, so they could easily be difficult. But here's the first one.
Okay, well, I just want to redeem myself. That's what I mean.
What was that?
Sheamus.
Yep. Told you it was easy. That was 12 points because I was a delay at pausing. And the final one, this is a bit of an oldie, but it's a gold.
This is Chris Jericho.
Yeah, that was your fastest one. 9 points. Let me just add these up and we will find out how many points you have in total.
I enjoyed that game. Maybe to take it off this screen because it's getting an echo. I enjoyed this game though. It is very hard actually when you think about it.
Yeah. Trying to
remember them backwards. Especially the ones that have lyrics. Those are the ones the Jericho one I got quite quickly, but
any song, any theme song with lyrics backwards is just Alistair Black's theme song. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't know what shit he talks about in there, but his theme.
It's not Dutch. Wait, what? That's wrong. I must have hit times at some point. It came up with 6,000 and I was like, that's not right.
Yeah, I wasn't that slow.
Well, I was capping it at 60 seconds because, otherwise we'd be here all day.
Yeah.
Last two.
So big shout out to people in America as well, Independence Day, That's a big deal over there, and there's bound to be a lot of obviously.
It's pub day for us.
Yeah, pub day, and bars are back open, and hairdressers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, we didn't touch upon Chris Jericho actually tweeting in the week about the ongoing Wednesday Night War. Is that a thing? But he's obviously broken it down.
What is this amateur hour, Josh? I don't know. This is our first live stream. Give me a break.
He said that. Chris Jericho basically said that while NXT the last 2 weeks may have more viewers, AEW is beating NXT in the core demographic that is the 18 to 49 demographic of viewers.
They're not doing bad, by any means. They're still the second most watched company in the US.
Yeah. It's difficult because, in my opinion, I don't know why people are obsessed with these ratings. And it seems that obviously the hand being forced by WWE, obviously having NXT, and this is something which I guess we probably will discuss in season 2, in more detail, as we will be closing in pretty much on almost a year of this competition format.
Vinny's a mark.
It's a mixed feedback about AEW, and I have an opinion on it, which is maybe somewhat different to what other people think.
Vinny has an opinion on it. He says it's trash.
Well, so does Jim Cornette. He's not a fan of AEW and what they're doing.
Jim Cornette is not a fan of much.
No,
he's not. He's not the best person to take advice from.
But he's one of those which is very outspoken about. And maybe that's something we'll revisit in season 2. So do the points first.
So you had a grand total of 187. Which isn't terrible, because you got 10, 15 seconds on every one, minus the Chris Jericho one where it was 60, and one was 43 seconds.
Yeah,
no, it wasn't Chris Jericho, it was DX was 60, and then EC3 was 43.
Yeah, DX I didn't get at all.
No.
EC3 took me a while, but I enjoyed that. And perhaps, when we come back...
Maybe we can bring it back into another live stream. Or maybe... No, I'm not replacing the Pipe Bomb Challenge. I like that too much.
No, the Pipe Bomb Promo Challenge is staying.
And plus, there's less chance of being copyrighted for the Pipe Bomb Challenge than there is for the theme songs.
Yeah, but I mean, we're going to be having a short break now. We've enjoyed this series, very much so. And season 2, the premiere date to get yourselves excited about, folks, is going to be July 25th. Oh. That is when we will be back with a all-new episode of Talking Crap, season 2.
And some all-new guests. We're not releasing anything yet, but...
there are some good ones coming up, potentially. And in our little break, though, we will have the Viewpoint episode for WWE Extreme Rules.
Yeah, Viewpoint isn't stopping, but Talking Crap is.
Yeah,
temporarily.
Viewpoint episode for the Extreme Rules that were coming up. Probably very early part of that week, because we want to get as much viewership as possible with that. But other than that, it's been great and a blast. And
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. In our break, please let us know if you have any episode suggestions or any comments, anything else. And please like, share, subscribe, and sign up to the page and Facebook and all that kind of stuff, as every little does help with this stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, we're just starting out. But we'll be back with season 2 on the 25th of July, leading you up to SummerSlam, which I think will be an interesting build. And potentially, as the year goes on, seeing some actual real fans come into it.
But come on, we've got real fans. Give them some credit. There's not many of them, but they're real.
I meant for wrestling in general, like WWE and W, having live crowds today.
Yeah.
As the year goes on, potentially. Of some degree, they may have crowds. And we're going into more exciting times of SummerSlam ahead.
Yeah.
But until then, I've been life coach Lucas Jackson. You've been Jazzy Josh Porter.
As always.
And we can see you on the other side. Stay safe.
Bye for now.
Do you feel the same feeling feeling is me? Can you hear what I've been trying to say? For you and me, I wish we could be something more. Do you feel the same feeling as me? Can you hear what I've been trying to say? For you and me, I wish we could be something more. Do you know what I've been waiting for? I just wanna slow you down and feel some more. Do you feel the same feeling as me?